have studied 17,342 species across this galaxy, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that humans should not exist. No, seriously, they should not exist. My name is Kelrath, and I serve as a historical combat analyst for the Galactic Preservation Institute. My job, essentially, is to understand why civilizations fall. I document their final moments, catalog their mistakes, and file reports that nobody reads. It is depressing work, but someone has to do it. For the last 6 cycles I have been obsessed with one particular case that defies every logical pattern I have ever studied. The humans of Earth. You want to know the funny part? When the Dominion fleet first detected them, we laughed.
Actually laughed.
The scan results were so absurd that 3 different technicians ran diagnostics thinking their equipment was malfunctioning. Here was a species that had barely achieved faster-than-light communication, still using chemical propulsion for most of their spacecraft. And get this, they were actively fighting each other over resources they had in abundance. Commander Vril, who led the initial assessment team, filed a report that simply read, primitive, divided, minimal threat level, recommended for immediate annexation. The Dominion had conquered 473 worlds at that point. Earth was supposed to be number 474. A footnote. The Tuesday afternoon conquest, if you will. I was not assigned to the invasion force. My role came later, after everything went sideways in ways that still give me the equivalent of nightmares. But I have interviewed survivors, reviewed combat footage, and analyzed classified documents that still make senior officials uncomfortable. What I discovered is that humanity's greatest weapon was not some hidden technology or secret alliance. It was the fact that they were, by every measurable standard, completely insane. Let me back up. The Dominion invasion fleet arrived on a Tuesday, coincidentally, 1,500 warships, each one capable of glassing a continent. Standard protocol: eliminate military installations, destroy communication networks, occupy major population centers, install compliance officers. The whole operation was scheduled to take 72 hours. Fleet Commander Torvik even brought his offspring along as an educational experience. Yes, he actually thought conquering Earth would be a good learning opportunity for his children. The humans detected the fleet while it was still 2 days out. Their response baffled our strategists immediately. They did not attempt to flee. They did not try to negotiate. They did not even panic in any organized fashion. Instead, they did something that no species in recorded galactic history had ever done when faced with overwhelming force. They started arguing about it, on public communication channels, where we could hear everything. Their world leaders could not agree on a unified response. Their military commanders each wanted to implement different strategies. Their civilians were simultaneously demanding immediate surrender, total resistance, and somehow, several were suggesting they attempt to steal our technology during the invasion. One particularly memorable broadcast involved a human named Marcus, attempting to convince his governing body that they should let the aliens land, then we will just steal their ships and reverse engineer everything. Commander Torvik watched these transmissions with growing confusion. Do they not understand they are about to die? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Their communication patterns suggest severe cognitive impairment across the entire species. Proceed with invasion protocol. This should be over quickly. Spoiler alert, it was not over quickly. The first wave of Dominion dropships entered Earth's atmosphere over a continent they called North America. The plan was simple. Land near major cities, deploy occupation forces, establish control. We had done this hundreds of times. What happened next is difficult to explain without sounding like I am making it up. The humans opened fire before our ships even landed. This was expected. What was not expected was the sheer variety of weapons they used. Military hardware, certainly, but also improvised explosives, modified civilian vehicles, and in one documented case a human named Bobby managed to damage a dropship's engine with what their species calls a potato gun. Yes, a vegetable-based projectile weapon. No, I am not joking. Yes, it actually worked. But here is where it gets strange. Our forces landed successfully despite resistance. We deployed battle drones, mechanized units, the works. By every tactical measure, we had achieved our objectives. The humans retreated from the initial landing zones. And then they just kept coming back. See, every other species we had conquered understood the concept of overwhelming force. When you destroy their military, They surrender. Basic logic, self-preservation, survival instinct. Humans apparently missed that particular evolutionary development. Captain Zorn, commanding the ground forces in a region called Texas, reported the first anomaly 6 hours after landing. The indigenous population is not retreating to defensible positions. They are, and I am reading this correctly, driving vehicles loaded with explosives directly at our formations while screaming and playing loud music. Clarify, Torvik responded. They are committing mass suicide attacks? Negative, sir. They are improvising new attack methods in real time. One group just weaponized their agricultural equipment. Another is using civilian drones modified with, sir, they have attached small explosives to toys, children's toys. What is their strategic objective? There was a long pause. Unknown, sir. They appear to be, and I cannot believe I am saying this, they appear to be making it up as they go along. That was our first indication that something was deeply wrong, not wrong with our invasion, wrong with the humans. By day 2, our casualties were minimal, but our confusion was maximum. The humans were not fighting like any opponent we had ever faced. They had no unified command structure because their governments had collapsed within hours of our arrival. They had no supply lines because they were using whatever they found lying around. They had no strategic coordination because different groups were implementing completely contradictory tactics. And somehow, this absolute chaos was working. In a region called Florida, one of our commanders reported that humans were using native reptiles as biological weapons. They are throwing animals at us, sir. Large, aggressive reptiles they call alligators. How is this a military strategy? It should not have been a strategy. It should have been the desperate flailing of a doomed species. But here is what our analyst failed to understand. Humans do not need a strategy when they have spite. One of my most treasured interview recordings is with a soldier named Jake who was part of the defense force in a city called Houston. I tracked him down years after the invasion to ask what he was thinking during those first days. He laughed. Actually laughed. Thinking? Brother, we were not thinking. We were just mad. Like, those alien jerks showed up and expected us to just roll over. Now, my buddy Tom, he is a mechanic, right? He rigged up this whole system where we could launch fireworks at their drones. Did it work? Sometimes. Did it matter? Hell yes, it mattered. Because every single one of those sparkly explosions was us saying we are not going quietly. But you must have known you could not win, I said. Win? He laughed again. Man, we were not trying to win. We were trying to make them regret showing up. That sentence right there. That is the key to understanding everything that followed. See, the Dominion was designed to conquer civilizations, logical civilizations, species that valued survival, that could calculate odds, that understood when further resistance was futile. Humans are not logical. Humans run on emotion, stubbornness, and what can only be described as weaponized pettiness. By day 3, Fleet Commander Torvik was receiving reports that troubled him deeply. Yes, the humans were losing every engagement. Yes, their casualties were catastrophic. Yes, by every measurable metric, the invasion was succeeding, but it was not succeeding fast enough. More concerning, human resistance was not decreasing. It was evolving. A tactical officer named Kess explained it to me later. They started learning, adapting. Every time we destroyed one of their attack methods, they would try 3 new ones. It was like fighting an opponent that improved by failing. No species does that. You either have prepared strategies or you do not. These humans, they treated the entire invasion like some kind of violent experiment. In a region called the Middle East, human fighters began coordinating with civilians to create complex ambush scenarios using building demolitions. In Asia, vast populations disappeared into underground tunnel networks we did not know existed, then emerged to strike supply lines. In Africa, resistance groups with decades of combat experience began teaching tactics to civilians in real time. And in Europe, well, Europe did something that still makes my primary stomach hurt. They started hacking our systems. Not the military networks. Those were encrypted beyond their capabilities. No, they hacked the supply chain logistics, the automated resupply drones, the food dispensaries for our soldiers. A programmer named Yuki, working from a basement somewhere in a city called Berlin, managed to redirect 17 supply shipments to incorrect coordinates. Our forces started receiving food meant for completely different units. Confusion spread. Efficiency dropped. When I interviewed Yuki years later and asked how she managed to breach Dominion encryption, she shrugged. I did not breach anything. Your system was too complex, too secure. So I just, sent a bunch of fake requests that looked legitimate. Your automated systems did not check for redundancy. I basically spammed your supply network until it got confused. But that should not have worked. Yeah, she said with a smile. But it did. This is the part where I need to explain something about the Dominion. We were not evil. I know how this sounds, an analyst defending the invading force. But context matters. The Dominion operated on a principle of forced unification. We believed that bringing all species under one government would end wars, prevent extinctions, create galactic peace. Were our methods harsh? Yes. Did we give species a choice? No. But we genuinely thought we were helping. Earth was supposed to prove this philosophy. Look at these divided, self-destructive humans. Look at how they waste resources fighting each other. We would unite them, give them purpose, bring them peace. What we failed to understand is that humans do not want the kind of peace that comes from surrender. They want the kind of peace they earn by being left alone. By day 5, something unprecedented happened. Commander Torvik received a transmission from the human military forces. Finally, we thought, they are ready to negotiate terms. The transmission was a video of a woman named General Martinez, standing in front of a burning military base, covered in dust and blood. She did not ask for terms. She told us to leave. Just that. 3 words. Get out. Now. Then she cut the transmission. Torvik was actually offended. Do they not see they are losing? We control 60% of their major cities. Their military is shattered. What do they expect to accomplish with continued resistance? His tactical officer, Ven, was studying casualty reports with increasing concern. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. They are making us bleed for every meter. Our casualties are still acceptable by strategic standards, but sir, they are climbing.
Every day, they climb. And the humans, they are not slowing down.
If anything, they are getting more aggressive. Impossible. They should be exhausted. They should be, Ben agreed quietly. But they are not. That night, something happened that changed everything. I have watched the footage 17 times and it still gives me what humans call chills. A human civilian, later identified as a teacher named Robert, walked into a Dominion checkpoint in a city called Denver. He was carrying something. Our soldiers scanned it, confirmed it was not a weapon, and let him approach. He was carrying a white cloth, a symbol of surrender. Our checkpoint commander, Lieutenant Foss, prepared to accept what he thought was the first sign of human capitulation. Robert stopped 3 meters away. Then he set the white cloth on fire. We do not surrender, he said clearly into the cameras recording the checkpoint. Not to you, not to anyone. If you want this planet, you will have to kill every single one of us. Then he turned and walked away. Foss could have ordered his soldiers to stop him. You have to Deathworld, but he later told me he was too shocked to give the order. Something about the way Robert delivered that message. Calm, absolute, terrifying in its certainty. That video spread through human networks faster than our censorship protocols could contain it. Within hours, every human still resisting had seen it, and the resistance intensified. This is when the Dominion military leadership began to worry. Really worry. Because we started to realize something that should have been obvious from the beginning. We were not fighting a military. We were fighting an entire species that had collectively decided death was preferable to occupation. To be continued. This is part 1. Part 2 will continue with 3,000 words to complete the story. Would you like me to continue with part 2 now? Retry. The breaking point came on day 7. Not for the humans, for us. Commander Torvik called an emergency strategic meeting with all ground force leaders. All obtained the recording through, let us call it creative archival work. What I heard in that meeting was the sound of a conquering force, realizing they had made a catastrophic miscalculation. Report casualties, Torvik ordered. Captain Zorn went first. Ground forces in North America, 4,312 dead, 9,000 wounded. Equipment losses exceed initial projections by 300%. Human resistance has not decreased. It has metastasized. Metastasized? Torvik repeated. Sir, they are teaching each other. A tactic that works in one region appears in 5 others within hours. They have no command structure, but they are sharing information faster than we can adapt. It is like fighting a virus that evolves in real time. Lieutenant Foss added his report from the European theater. Civilian casualties are, sir. They are unacceptable. We are killing millions, and it is not stopping them. If anything, every death creates more resistance. Their propaganda networks have turned their casualties into martyrs. We are losing the psychological war. There is no psychological war, Torvik said firmly. There is only victory or defeat. Then we are not achieving victory fast enough, Foss said quietly. The room went silent. General Vec, the senior strategic advisor, spoke for the first time. Commander, I recommend we reassess our approach. The human resistance is not following any known pattern. Our doctrine is designed for rational opponents. These beings are not rational. Diaz, human, not rational. These beings are not rational. They are primitives with chemical weapons and desperation, Torvik snapped. We will break them. With respect, sir, Vec said carefully. I do not think we will. I have studied the data. Human casualties are approaching 50 million dead, and the survivors are fighting harder than when we arrived. This is not normal behavior. This is not survivable behavior. They are choosing extinction over surrender. Then we will grant them extinction. That was when Vec said something that I think about often, even now. Sir, if we exterminate them, we prove their point, that we are not liberators. Every other species in the Dominion will hear about what we did here. They will know that resistance, even suicidal resistance, can force us to reveal our true nature. Torvik stood up. We will discuss this later. Continue operations. Break their spirit. That is an order. But you cannot break what is already broken. Let me explain what I mean by that. During my research, I interviewed a human psychiatrist named Dr. Ellen, who had been studying collective trauma responses. I asked her to explain why humans kept fighting when logic demanded surrender. We were already broken, she said simply. Before your people arrived, we had spent centuries breaking each other. Wars, genocides, disasters, pandemics. We had survived everything by developing this stubborn refusal to accept that anything could truly destroy us. You showed up expecting to break us, but we were already shattered, and shattered things, they do not break the same way twice. They just reconfigure. That makes no sense, I said. She smiled sadly.
Oh, exactly. That is the point.
You came here with logic, with strategy, with overwhelming force.
Oh.
We responded with spite, improvisation, and a collective middle finger to the concept of inevitable defeat. You cannot logic your way through illogical opponents. This philosophy, if you can call it that, manifested in ways that still baffle military strategists. In a region called Australia, human resistance fighters began using the continent's notoriously dangerous wildlife as area denial weapons. They herded venomous creatures into areas where our forces were staging, turned water supplies into breeding grounds for hostile organisms, and somehow convinced entire swarms of aggressive insects to nest in our equipment storage facilities. When I asked an Australian fighter named Dave how they managed to weaponize wildlife, he laughed so hard he started coughing. Mate, we did not weaponize anything. We just, encouraged nature to do its thing. You aliens set up camp in places where the spiders alone could kill you, and you wondered why things went bad. We just stopped killing the local fauna and let them meet you instead. But you are also harmed by these creatures. Yeah, but we are used to it. Everything here tries to kill us anyway. We made peace with that ages ago. You panicked every time a snake showed up. That ma'am. In South America, resistance groups disappeared into rainforests that our sensors could not penetrate effectively. They used the terrain, the weather, the very ecosystem against us. Our soldiers developed infections from microorganisms they had no immunity to. Supply lines stretched thin, trying to navigate environments that humans had adapted to over millennia. And then there was the music. I am serious. The music became a weapon. Humans started broadcasting songs on every frequency they could access. Loud, aggressive, defiant music that our translators could barely parse. But the emotional content was clear. We are still here, we are still fighting, and we are not afraid of you. One particular song, something called We Will Rock You, became an unofficial anthem of resistance. Our soldiers reported hearing it blasted from speakers in occupied cities, hummed by prisoners, even played on loop by resistance fighters moments before suicide attacks. Psychological warfare specialists tried to counter it with our own broadcasts. Logic, reason, promises of peace if they would just surrender. The humans responded by turning our broadcasts into remix tracks and sending them back to us as mockery. Lieutenant Colm, stationed in Asia, filed a report that I think captures the growing panic in our ranks. The humans are not treating this invasion as an existential threat. They are treating it as an inconvenience they are determined to overcome through sheer irritation. Lieutenant Colm, stationed in Asia, filed a report that I think captures the growing panic in our ranks. They are annoying us to death, sir. Literally, death by 10,000 paper cuts, except some of those paper cuts are explosive and others are biological hazards. By day 10, the Dominion fleet had accomplished most of its strategic objectives on paper. Major cities were occupied. Military installations were destroyed. Communication networks were disrupted. But we controlled nothing.
Hold.
We controlled nothing. Humans operated in the spaces between our forces. They struck at dawn, at dusk, during shift changes, during mealtimes. They studied our patterns and exploited every gap. They learned our weaknesses faster than we could adapt. And the casualties kept climbing. Not just ours. Theirs too. Human dead exceeded 100 million. 100 million people gone in 10 days. Any other species would have collapsed. Halls would have begged for mercy. Halls would have accepted any terms to stop the dying. Humans started painting murals on the ruins of their cities. Art. They created art in the middle of annihilation. Images of defiance, of hope, of absolute refusal to accept defeat. One mural, painted on the side of a destroyed building in a city called Mumbai, showed a human hand holding a broken sword, with text that translated roughly to, "Still standing, still swinging, still swinging." That mural became a symbol. Our intelligence officers tried to destroy every copy, but humans kept recreating it. On walls, on vehicles, on their clothing, even prisoners drew it in the dirt of detention camps. Commander Torvik finally requested reinforcements. This was unprecedented. 1,500 warships could not conquer one primitive planet. The Dominion High Council's response shocked everyone. Reinforcements denied. Reassess invasion viability. Reassess invasion viability. That phrase in Dominion military terminology is as close as we get to saying maybe this was a mistake. Torvik called another emergency meeting. This time his composure was cracking. "We have lost 12,000 soldiers," he said, voice tight with anger. "Equipment losses exceed 50% of initial projections. The humans have sustained over 100 million casualties and show no signs of capitulation. Explain to me how this is possible." General Vec pulled up a holographic display. "Sir, I have analyzed every major engagement. The humans are not winning battles. They are winning time. Every hour we spend here, our efficiency drops. Our soldiers are exhausted, traumatized, questioning the mission. Meanwhile, human resistance adapts and spreads. They are conducting a war of attrition against an opponent with vastly superior resources, and somehow it is working." "How is it working?" Torvik demanded. "Because they do not care about casualties," Vec said bluntly. "They care about defiance. Every human that dies fighting us becomes a symbol that inspires 10 more. We are not fighting a military force. We are fighting an idea. And you cannot bomb an idea into submission." Captain Zorn added, "Sir, our soldiers are beginning to refuse orders, not officially, but delays, hesitation, questioning. They signed up to bring peace to the galaxy. What we are doing here, it looks like genocide, and the humans are making sure we know it." That was the word that changed everything. Genocide. Because the Dominion had rules, we were conquerors, yes, but we were not exterminators. We subjugated species to save them from themselves. We forced unity to prevent wars. We imposed peace, even if that peace came at gunpoint. But Earth was becoming something else. An extermination event, a war crime on a planetary scale. And humans were documenting everything. Every atrocity, every civilian death, every destroyed hospital and school. They recorded it, broadcast it, sent it into space on every frequency they could access. They wanted the galaxy to see what the Dominion was really capable of when a species said no. We have watched some of those recordings. They are difficult to stomach, not because of the violence. I have seen violence, but because of the voices. Humans recording their final moments, not with pleas for mercy, but with messages of defiance. One video, filmed by a woman named Lisa in a city called Seattle moments before a Dominion bombardment, has stayed with me forever. She is holding a child, tears streaming down her face, and she looks directly into the camera. "We are going to die now," she says calmly. "The aliens are destroying this shelter, but I want them to know. I want the whole galaxy to know. We chose this. We could have surrendered. We could have lived as slaves. We chose to die free instead, and I hope that choice haunts them forever." Then the recording cuts out. That video reached Dominion High Council chambers. It was played before the entire leadership assembly. 3 council members resigned within hours. On day 12, something unprecedented happened. A Dominion destroyer captain named Vrois refused orders to bombard a civilian population center. He claimed the orders violated the Dominion Charter's prohibition against unnecessary civilian casualties. He was arrested immediately. But his refusal sparked something. Other officers began questioning orders. Some quietly, some openly. The unified military force that had conquered 473 worlds was fracturing over Earth. Commander Torvik tried to maintain control, but the situation was deteriorating faster than he could manage. Human resistance was bad enough. Mutiny in his own ranks was unacceptable. On day 14, the Dominion High Council made a decision that sent shockwaves through the entire fleet. They ordered immediate withdrawal from Earth. Not retreat, not regrouping. Full withdrawal. Abandon the invasion. Leave. Torvik refused to believe the order at first. "We are winning," he insisted.
Casualties are acceptable.
"We can pacify the population within another month, 2 at most." "At what cost?" Council Speaker Mevik replied over the communication link. "Half our invasion force dead, 100 billion human casualties, the complete erosion of our moral authority across the galaxy. Commander, we are not retreating because we cannot win militarily. We are retreating because winning would destroy us politically and ethically. The humans have proven they will choose extinction over subjugation. Forcing that choice makes us the monsters they claim we are." "They are primitives," Torvik said desperately. "They have nothing. They are nothing. They have something we did not account for," Mevik said quietly. "They have the absolute certainty that death is preferable to submission. And Commander, that belief is contagious. Other Dominion worlds are watching. If we complete this extermination, how long before our own subjugated species start wondering if they should have fought harder? How long before we face 17 resistance movements inspired by human defiance?" The mathematics were brutal and simple. Earth was not worth the cost. Not the military cost. Not the political cost. And certainly not the moral cost. The withdrawal began on day 15. Human resistance fighters watched in confusion as Dominion forces packed up and departed. Some thought it was a trick. Others thought it was a temporary retreat before a larger assault. It took 3 days for humans to accept that the invasion was actually over. That the aliens had left. That they had won. Except it did not feel like winning. I arrived on Earth 6 months later as part of a Galactic Preservation Institute assessment team. My job was to document what happened for the historical record and analyze why the invasion failed. What I found was a planet in ruins. 230 million humans dead, entire cities reduced to rubble, economies shattered, ecosystems damaged. It would take them decades to rebuild, maybe longer. But they were rebuilding. When I interviewed General Martinez, the woman who had told Commander Torvik to leave, I asked her if the cost was worth it. She was quiet for a long time. "We lost so many people," she finally said. "So many. Every day I think about the ones who died believing we would lose. But then I think about what we would have lost if we had surrendered. Not just our freedom, our identity, the fundamental human belief that we get to choose our own path, even if that path leads somewhere terrible. Was it worth it? Ask me again in 50 years. Right now I am just trying to help us survive what we did to ourselves to stay free." That is the thing about humans. They are not special because they won. They are special because they were willing to lose everything rather than accept subjugation. The Dominion still exists, but Earth changed us. We do not invade anymore. We negotiate. We offer partnership, not domination, because every species that considers joining us now asks the same question: what happened on Earth? And we have to tell them the truth. We tried to conquer a species that was already broken, and those broken pieces cut us until we bled. The humans should not have won. By every logical measure, they lost. They paid a price so terrible that calling it victory feels obscene. But they did not surrender. And in the end, that was enough. I close my reports on Earth with the same conclusion every time. Humanity's survival was not a testament to their strength, It was a testament to their absolute, unhinged, completely irrational refusal to accept the inevitable. They silverblaze are gaving dead dudoine.
Sev.
The scan. They broke first before we even arrived. And somehow being already broken saved them. Because you cannot break what does not care about being whole. You can only respect it, fear it, and very carefully leave it alone.